What's up, everybody? This is Alex Christoforou with the Duran. I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. And today we're going to talk about the last remnants of ISIS. All right, Alexander, you were just telling me before we shot this video that you believe ISIS is pretty much on its last legs. The Kurds are closing in. You mentioned that they're down to pretty much 1 kilometer of land that they're controlling. Fill in our viewers as to what the situation is with ISIS. Are we talking about ISIS in Syria, ISIS in Iraq? What's the situation now with the caliphate?
I think the caliphate is bust, frankly. I think when I said 1 square kilometer, it is 1 square kilometer in Syria. But that is all the territory ISIS now controls. It's just, I believe, a village and a few fields around it. There's apparently a couple of hundred fighters, ISIS fighters, who are still holding out there. But the latest reports are that the US-backed Kurdish militia, which is closing in on them, is making rapid progress, and that more and more ISIS fighters are now surrendering, which they didn't used to do before. They used to fight to the death, but they're now giving up fast. And all of this comes a week after we got reports from the media that there was an attempted coup within ISIS against ISIS's leader, this extraordinary man, al-Baghdadi, who ISIS says is the caliph, in other words, the leader of the world Muslim community. And it seems that some very angry and disillusioned ISIS fighters, clearly seeing this man as a betrayer and a charlatan, attempted to kill him or overthrow him. So there was an attempted coup. Al-Baghdadi's bodyguards fought them off, and they all fled. But the very fact that things like this are now happening, and that al-Baghdadi's authority is being challenged, and it seems there's no doubt about this, it actually happened, shows that morale within ISIS has collapsed. So I think this organization really is on its last legs. I think that the Russians in Syria, the Americans in Iraq, and in northern Syria with the Kurds, and the Kurds who are fighting it, they've broken it. And I think this is the end of ISIS. Okay, so you mentioned the Russians, the Kurds, the Americans. Once ISIS is fully wiped out, and you mentioned that it is the American-backed Kurds that are going to deliver, I would imagine, the final death blow there. What does this mean for all these groups involved? Right. Well, first of all, it does leave the Kurds in control of more of eastern Syria. But we know that the US is pulling out of eastern Syria. Of that now, I think there's no doubt. I mean, they're definitely going to be out by April. We also know that the Kurds are going to be under pressure from Turkey. So I predict what's going to happen is that there will be a grand bargain done very soon, and all of these areas will revert to the control of the Syrian government. And the Syrian government has the most powerful army in the area, and it will move in, and there is no possibility of ISIS reconstituting itself in eastern Syria. The Syrian army drove it out of Palmyra. It drove it away from Deir ez-Zor, which is this other territory that it once controlled. It smashed ISIS in central and eastern Syria. The Kurds smashed ISIS in Raqqa, which is its so-called capital, and in northern Syria, and the Iraqi army smashed ISIS in Iraq. The Iraqis and the Kurds did it with US backing. The Syrian army did it with Russian backing. But ISIS is smashed, and I don't think it's coming back. I know some people say it is, but I don't believe it is. And what's the distinction between ISIS being smashed and what's happening in Idlib? Is Idlib more of a al-Qaeda enclave than an ISIS enclave? Is there a real distinction between the two? Yeah. Yes, it is entirely an al-Qaeda enclave. ISIS doesn't have a significant presence in Idlib. The big mistake ISIS made, and the big distinction between ISIS and al-Qaeda, was that in 2014, ISIS proclaimed the caliphate. They claimed that they represented the Islamic State and that all Muslims were ultimately owed ISIS their allegiance. Now, and they also claimed that their leaders, all Muslims, essentially chosen by God. Now, when you make those kind of claims about yourself, when you claim that you are leading a divinely ordained state, then of course, if you lose, and lose as comprehensively as ISIS has done, then your credibility is destroyed, because clearly God is no longer backing you, and the claims you are making about yourself are no longer credible. So I think ISIS is finished, both as a caliphate and as a terrorist organization. The other big Muslim terrorist organization, jihadi terrorist organization, I should say, Sunni terrorist organization, is al-Qaeda. It has never made that mistake. It is a much more professional and more experienced organization. It now has a powerful enclave in Idlib, and I predict that many of the people who up to now have been supporting ISIS will switch back to supporting al-Qaeda, which will re-establish itself from this point on as the major Sunni Muslim, takfiri, jihadi, call it what you like, Wahhabist terrorist organization that we all now have to deal with.
So is it fair to say that the last part of Syria, the last unresolved territory of Syria, will be Idlib by summertime?
Yes, I think so. In fact, and I predict by the summer, the Syrian army will move in and they will clear out al-Qaeda from there. So I think al-Qaeda's days in Syria are also now going to be very short. And there's actually a very interesting report, which we've provided a link to on our website, from the Al-Masdar news agency, which is Lebanese, but which is very well informed, which says that the former states that had been backing al-Qaeda in northwest Syria, in Idlib, presumably that means Turkey and also Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all those countries, they've cut off arms supplies to al-Qaeda, and it's running out of ammunition. So, as I said, they won't be in a position to withstand the Syrian army offensive when it begins. But al-Qaeda will survive as a terrorist organization, because they have never made the mistake of pretending that there's some sort of caliphate, and some kind of organization will survive and it will continue to be a danger. But ISIS, in my opinion, is finished.
And al-Qaeda will survive with backing from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey. Who's exactly going to be keeping al-Qaeda afloat going forward now?
Well,
Syria's off the table.
Most of its support comes from the Gulf states, sometimes from Gulf state governments which try to use al-Qaeda for their own political or geopolitical objectives, but also from various powerful and wealthy backers that it has within the Gulf, Saudi princes, Emirate business people, that sort of thing. But as I said, it will survive not as a para-state, not kind of a sort of pseudo-state, which it is at the moment in Idlib province, but as a terrorist organization, pure and simple. I don't think ISIS has that option.
All right. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran, thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below and click on that notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. Visit the Duran shop, pick up a t-shirt, help support the Duran. And in the description box down below, you will find links to our PayPal and Patreon pages. Please donate to us. It really, really helps us out. And you can get a copy of this video in audio format on iTunes and Soundcloud. please follow us there. And don't forget, you can go to theduran.com and see all the articles that Alexander is linking up to every day. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of The Duran. Thank you once again. Until next time, everybody, take care.